Podcast title: Navigating Relationships, Budgeting, and Gender Roles in Modern Times. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Good Advice Giver podcast, powered by Buzzsprout. I'm your host, Terrence, and today we're diving into a topic that is on everyone's minds: relationships, dating, budgeting dynamics, romance, or the lack of it, and gender roles in today's modern relationships. We'll unpack what's happening in the dating scene, the financial expectations between partners, and how gender roles are evolving or staying the same. It's going to be a juicy conversation, so buckle up. Whether you're in a relationship, single, or somewhere in between, there's a lot to cover and plenty of relatable moments. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's dive into this conversation. Segment 1. The dating scene today. Dating today has become quite an adventure, right? Gone are the days when people simply met in person and went on a date after some small talk. We're now in a world of swiping left or right, endless DMs, and a culture of ghosting. So, let's talk about how dating has changed. One of the biggest challenges, I think, is the sheer volume of choices. With online dating apps like Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. You're constantly seeing new faces, and it's tempting to think, is there someone better out there? That mindset can affect how we value relationships and even the people we're talking to. It leads to this kind of temporary mindset where people often don't take dating as seriously as they used to. Exactly. Dating apps have created this almost shopping mentality when it comes to finding a partner. Everyone's always looking for the next best option, and it has impacted how people connect emotionally. I feel like people aren't as willing to put in the effort to build a meaningful relationship because it's so easy to just move on to the next person. You match with someone, things get difficult or boring, and instead of working through it, people just swipe away and try to find someone else. It's like relationships are becoming disposable. That's a great point. It's almost like commitment is becoming rare. We've got endless choices, but fewer meaningful connections. What do you think are some solutions for people looking to have real, long-term relationships in this culture? People need to be intentional from the start. If you're serious about wanting a real connection, you need to date purposefully. That means being clear about your values and what you want out of a relationship. You have to filter out those who aren't on the same page early on, instead of getting caught up in the fun or excitement of swiping and chatting without depth. There has to be a shift from convenience to commitment if long-term relationships are going to survive in this modern dating world. Segment 2. Budgeting in relationships. Let's move into something that might not be as fun as talking about dating, but it's just as important: money and budgeting in relationships. The reality is that financial dynamics are a huge part of what makes or breaks relationships today. Whether it's splitting bills, deciding on how to handle money as a couple, or just understanding who's responsible for what, money is a touchy subject. I've seen it a lot. Couples who argue over who's spending what, or feeling like one person is carrying the financial load. So, what's the best way for couples to handle budgeting today? Should we still be dividing things 50-50ths? Or has that changed in our modern era? Money is one of the top reasons couples argue, right? It can get tricky, especially when both partners have different spending habits or different incomes. I think the 50-50 split is outdated, though. For some couples, it works, but for many, it doesn't reflect the reality of their situation. Instead, I think it's more important to focus on equity over equality. That means contributing in a way that's fair to both people's circumstances, even if it's not exactly 50-50. For example, if one partner earns significantly more, it doesn't make sense for them to expect their partner to split everything down the middle. It's about both partners feeling supported financially, but in a way that doesn't leave one person feeling burdened. Right? And I think that's where conversations come in. You've got to communicate openly about your finances. If one person is making more or has more financial responsibilities, that needs to be acknowledged, and you need to come up with a plan together. One thing I've noticed is that people sometimes avoid these conversations because they're uncomfortable, but that only makes things worse in the long run. What are your thoughts on how couples should approach these talks? Yeah, avoiding it never works. The earlier you have these conversations, the better. Even if you're just dating, it's important to talk about how you both view money. Are you a spender or a saver? How do you feel about debt? Those questions matter, and they can reveal a lot about compatibility. For couples who live together or are married, it's crucial to sit down and create a joint budget. This doesn't mean you have to share all your accounts or give up financial independence, but you should have a clear understanding of how expenses will be handled and how much you're both willing to contribute. Setting financial goals together can also help you stay on the same page. Maybe it's saving for a house, a vacation, or paying off debt. Having those goals keeps both partners motivated and accountable. Segment 3. Romance, or the lack thereof, in today's relationships. Another thing I wanted to touch on today is romance, or honestly, the lack of romance in many relationships today. I hear from a lot of people that romance is just disappearing. What do you think is causing the shift? I think a big part of it is that life has just gotten busier for everyone. With both partners often working full-time jobs, it's harder to make time for romance, let alone keep the spark alive. People are overwhelmed by work, personal goals, and just day-to-day responsibilities. So, romance ends up getting pushed to the back burner. Then, there's the issue of people thinking that romance should always be spontaneous, and if it's not, then it's somehow less meaningful. But honestly, romance requires effort. It's not always going to be spontaneous. Sometimes you need to plan a date night, or make time to reconnect. That doesn't make it any less special. I couldn't agree more. I think there's this misconception that romance is supposed to happen naturally all the time. But real relationships take effort. Sometimes you have to create those moments. Scheduling a date night, or making time to talk without distractions can make a huge difference. And here's the thing. When couples don't make time for romance, it can lead to deeper issues like resentment, disconnection, or even loss of intimacy. It doesn't have to be grand gestures all the time. It can be as simple as leaving a note, cooking dinner together, or even watching a movie. Small acts of romance are just as important. Segment 4. Gender roles in modern relationships. Now, let's talk about gender roles in today's relationships. There's been a big shift from traditional gender roles to more modern dynamics, but that doesn't mean everyone is on the same page about what those roles should be. In your experience, what are some of the biggest changes? I think one of the biggest changes is that there's more flexibility in gender roles, which is great. It's no longer expected that the man has to be the sole breadwinner, and the woman doesn't have to be the one staying at home. Both partners can work, both can contribute financially, and both can share household responsibilities. However, despite this shift, I still think there are some traditional expectations that linger. For example, many men still feel the pressure to provide financially, even if their partner is contributing just as much. On the other hand, women might still feel expected to handle the bulk of childcare or housework, even if they're working full-time. So, while gender roles are evolving, there's still some tension around who should be doing what. Exactly. I think what's key here is that couples need to figure out what works for them. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. Some couples might prefer more traditional roles, while others want to split everything equally or even reverse traditional roles. The important thing is having that conversation and making sure both partners feel comfortable and supported. I also think it's important for men to recognize that sharing responsibilities, whether it's housework, cooking, or childcare, doesn't take away from their masculinity. If anything, it shows that they're partners in the relationship. Being involved in every part of the household and relationship can actually strengthen the bond between partners. Closing and call to action. All right, everyone. I think we've covered some really important topics today. From navigating the complexities of dating and budgeting in relationships to keeping the romance alive and rethinking gender roles, there's a lot to reflect on. If you're in a relationship or even thinking about getting into one, these are conversations that you should have with your partner. Relationships are all about communication, effort, and understanding. Before we wrap up, I want to encourage you all to join me over on Patreon. By becoming a patron, you get access to exclusive content, behind-the-scenes insights, and early access to episodes. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to download and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Thank you for tuning in to the Good Advice Giver podcast, powered by Buzzsprout. Your support means the world to me, and I'm excited to keep bringing you valuable conversations and advice. Until next time, take care of your relationships, stay intentional, and keep striving for personal growth. Thanks for listening.
Today is your lucky day. Today is the day that our $3 website works for you, paying you directly to your PayPal daily. Imagine $3 ongoing continuous payments to your PayPal account. Imagine falling asleep and waking up to $300 in your PayPal account. How would this make you feel? How could this help you? What bills could you pay? What kind of fun could you have? What does that retirement look like now? All for a one-time payment of $3. This website is DFY done for you, fully built and completely hosted, and never stops collecting payments for you. You have spent $3 on coffee on a regular, but that coffee won't help you create multiple streams of income. Click the link below.